ॐ परब्रह्मणे विद्महे शिवतत्त्वाय धीमहि तन्नो मोहन प्रचोदयात्. Welcome everybody to day 9 of our book reading session. We have been reading Guru Leela 1 and we'll continue reading from where we stopped last. Walking in the presence of Master's grace and love. Rayana Gasper from South Africa. A Master's grace is always there whenever we truly need it. However, never take it for granted. As I look back over the last few months, I realized that the only thing that stood between me and probable death or grave injury was my Master's love and grace. I shared with you a couple of major incidents which shook me completely but brought out how a Master's grace works across oceans. Saturday was one such fateful day. The people who saw the incident could not believe that I walked away unscathed, as the accident almost defied the laws of physics. Before I dive into the incident, allow me to give you a quick background. The car I used to drive was very old and would repeatedly break down. Eventually, I had to let it go. The option left for me was to use public transport. However, in South Africa, public transport is very unreliable and overcrowded minibus taxis are a seriously bad idea. More so when one is a white female and traveling in the slums of Johannesburg. A couple of days later, I went into my home temple and prayed to Mohanji that I was seriously scared of going to work by a minibus taxi. I clearly heard his voice. It's taken care of. The next morning, a friend of mine was at my gate at 6:30 a.m. with her old car. All she said when she gave me the keys was that she could not sleep the whole night thinking about me and that she had to bring the car to me immediately. Her conscience did not allow her to sleep, knowing that in the morning I would disregard my safety to help others while she slept comfortably. I run a shelter for abandoned and abused teenage girls in downtown Johannesburg, which is a very rough area. Her car doesn't run fast. However, that is not an issue for me as long as I can go from point A to B. At least we now have transport in the shelter again. Thank you, Baba, for the loan of the car. Coming back to the incident on that Saturday. Due to the slow pace of the car, I was driving on the left-hand lane on the freeway. With my previous car, I would have been flying in it on the outer right-hand lane. I was driving on the freeway and the two cars behind me were a couple of Mohanji's devotees, Amy Hughes and Jan. They were on their way to a power of purity meditation at Nameshri's house in Johannesburg. Normally, Amy would have been way in front of me and I would have been eating her dust. I was expecting her to go flying past as they were running late for the POP meditation. Suddenly, the car on my right hand lane clipped a car on its right side and then smacked hard into the side of a second car. The impact caused the driver to spin around at about 120 kilometers per hour, dashed head on into the concrete barrier on the far right. It immediately spun around again and headed straight towards me at a high speed. There was nowhere for me to go. Even braking would have been too late. All I remember doing was screaming out Mohanji's name. The oncoming car, as if guided by unseen divine hands, veered away from me and instead crashed into the embankment on the left side of the freeway. I managed to come to a standstill less than a few meters away from the crumpled car. The distance was so short between my car and the crashed car that when the ambulance arrived, it could barely get its nose in between our cars. As I rushed to the crashed car, all I could do was pray that there were no children in it. The front wheel caused the door of the crashed car to get stuck, and I have no idea how it got open. Divine play again. At this stage, I was petrified because the lady driving that car was slumped over the steering wheel with the airbag engulfing her face. I could get out of my mouth. All I get out of my mouth was, "Please, Mohanji, please." I pushed her back gently towards the seat, saw her eyes roll back in her head, and she passed out immediately. I refrained from moving her as I was not sure about injuries to her spine and started channeling Mohanji's healing energy immediately to heal and provide solace to her. A man rushed over, and the first thing he asked me was, "How did you miss that? It looked like you were pushed sideways away from the car." Amy and Stan arrived seconds later and contacted the ambulance and police. I passed Sujan the accident victim's phone and she phoned the last number on display. It became evident that she was on phone when the accident happened. As the victim started regaining consciousness, all I could do was hold her in my arms, give healing energy, and pray fervently to Mohanji. A few minutes later, she regained full consciousness but had no recollection of what had transpired. 15 minutes later, she was able to climb out of her car just before the ambulance arrived. I still can't believe how the victim walked out of the car after the horrendous crash. Amazing divine protection by Mohanji. That day, Mohanji saved not just me, but the victim and many others. Also, thank you, Mohanji, for protecting Amy and Sujan. After the accident, I was in shock, but felt so much gratitude that Mohanji was in my life during this volatile time. To get rid of the adrenal spike, I went for a long walk, and when I arrived home, thinking about how we waste time and our abilities, how easily everything can change in a split second. As I was walking, the only sound I kept on hearing was the impact, the dull sound like a plastic Coke bottle bursting, but much, much louder. Smelling and seeing the smoke in the car interior as I pulled open the door, not knowing if the lady was alive or dead. Slowly, the sound and vision was replaced with calmness and more gratitude. I heard Mohanji's voice telling me not to be afraid of wasting time, but to be aware of every action, to live the moment in unconditional love, and His grace will flow. I live in eternal gratitude for the grace of my Guru Mohanji. Jai Brahma Rishi Mohanji. Next chapter. A blast in all directions. Stunning experiences and experiments. Serbian team. Goran is a unique, multifaceted individual. A Tai Chi master, marathon runner, a cardiologist, currently doing his PhD in sports rehabilitation, practices Gong and Tibetan ball therapy, but more than anything, a sincere spiritual experientialist and a lovely human being. Guran was deeply impressed with the meditation Mohanji conducted in Novi Sad and said that the purity and love that emanates from Mohanji is so incredibly high, it is unconditional. Shaktipat was a surprising and incredible experience, first of its kind for me. The effect of Shaktipat amazed me. I am under deep impressions, so grateful. Indeed, when the student is ready, the master appears. After Goran found about the meditation that Maria in Serbian language, J is pronounced as Y. So Maria was to conduct in Belgrade on May 7th. He decided to travel from Novi Sad and join in. Before that happened, he mentioned to Mohanji that his son Dusan had a remarkable sensitivity to energy and wondered whether he should bring him along. Although he's still only a teenager, I asked Mohanji and he said, "Tell him to bring Dusan." Experience shared by Goran, Serbia. Dear Mohanji, you were so right when you said I should bring my son Dusan for meditation as well. I may not be able to express my joy, gratitude, and depth of the experience so well in English, but I will try. I like the meditation venue, full of positive energy. The first time I saw Maria, I felt from the moment we met that the instant communication at the level of chakras was established. Her youth and serenity, inner glow, I liked her immediately. People slowly arrived. I started carefully trying to penetrate more deeply into the essence. I went to change my clothes because I have my special clothes that I like to wear for meditation, with some black and white ornaments that I wore when I first met Devi and you in Novi Sad. I feel that this suit has absorbed great energy and creates some beautiful space around me when I wear it. Moving on to the meditation, Maria said that she will start by invoking Mohanji's energy and presence. I can freely say that she was the right medium. It was felt immediately. We slowly started relaxing. What happened after a while, I feel words cannot describe. A complete feeling of weightlessness, like floating above the chair. I felt an incredible sense of ease, which was almost unreal. I had the impression that one could insert a thin cushion between me and the chair. I enjoyed this incredible feeling, and then it happened. I felt a gentle touch at the top of my head, my crown chakra. What a powerful connection. I had the impression that I am a big energy ball, a balloon held by a tiny thread, and then the incredible joy spread up in all directions like a ray, but without stopping. What a feeling! What strength and sense of bliss! And when Maria put her finger on my forehead, the third eye, I can't describe it. It was feeling of a strong stream of light rushing through her finger into me, a blast in all directions. I kept feeling this flow of energy, but any expression through words is too poor to describe it. Just as there is a sun gaze, this has been, shall I call it, a divine gaze. Something beautiful happened to me, and the incredible feeling of peace and tranquility followed me constantly. And that smile, it was literally as if I was smiling from inside myself. Meditation ended. After opening my eyes, I exchanged a long look with Maria, which said it all. And then something even more interesting happened. When the lights were switched on, I saw quite clearly, as if it was painted around each participant individually, something like an aura. But then there was more to it. I could see, feel their thoughts and feelings too. Amazingly, I could almost physically touch their minds. I could see that surreal living blueprint in each one of them individually and the reasons why they were there. Four of them specially stood out. They gleamed from the sincere emotions of love. Two were females, one of them my best friend Biliana, second a lady called Tiana, and one was my son Dusan. And the fourth one, of course, was Maria, so pure and bright. There was one gentleman who looked at my son Dusan, who was silent all the time, and said he was sent here with a special purpose. Does he have something to do with the Far East? I told him that his mother is half Japanese and he is thus a quarter Japanese. And he said to that, he is special. He is sent with some kind of a big task. He radiates so much energy. I was so happy and yes, proud as any father would be. And when I told him that Mohanji said that Dusan is a divine child and should definitely join us for meditation, he was thrilled. We stayed at the venue for another hour. Time was just flying. Dusan then spoke to me privately and said, Daddy, I have already seen all the people who are here somewhere before, including that man and Maria. I know this is true because it is clear to me that he can tune into the higher realms of consciousness with ease. I shared with him my experience and he surprised me even more when he said that he too felt and saw the same auras, living blueprints around people as I did during the meditation. My joy knew no bounds. Then another interesting thing happened while we were outside in front of the door. There was a man with a dog on a leash. The dog suddenly began to wag its tail in great joy, overly excited, and went straight to Dusan. The man tried pulling the dog back, thinking he may harm Dusan. But the dog was attracted like a magnet, that was obvious. I know from before that Dusan has a special communication with dogs, so it was really interesting to observe this. Thank you, Biba, Devi Mohan, for sharing with me Mohanji's experience with the dog Happy in Dubai. Dusan read the story and felt very inspired by it. The next day he tried communicating telepathically with another dog and it worked. The dog immediately came to him and started licking his palm. Mohanji's story left a deep impression on him. post meditation experiences. During the following few weeks, I saw many changes in myself and Dusan. I started having visions at night, and a lot of things were happening in my inner space. And Dusan's sensitivity level increased manifold. His piano classes showed a sign of that. Dusan's piano teacher said that never during the last 5 years of practice was he able to play the piano with that much feeling, beauty, and subtlety. And guess what? The teacher decided that next time Dusan should play in public. Intrigued by all this, one evening while holding Mohanji's visit card and looking at his eyes, Dusan noticed something very interesting. He ran to me and said, "Daddy, I can clearly feel that this card is radiating energy. It is alive." Due to many years of biomedical engineering and thermovision experience in medicine, sport, and industry, the scientist in me immediately decided to test this visiting card of Mohanji's through thermovision photo. Please note this is not a Kirlian photography but something more advanced. It is done through the latest thermovision camera, a recognized scientific method which is used to visually show body temperature and any kind of energy which can be transformed into heat. Thermovision analysis, very short and clear, simplified so that everybody can understand. Then there are some pictures about thermovision analysis. Two images, image 17 and image 18. Image 17 is thermal photo taken after holding Mohanji's card for 30 seconds. And image 18 is thermal photo taken after holding Mohanji's card for 60 seconds. You can see it again. Graph R1, maximum temperature in that area is 37.1 degrees Celsius. Jump to 37.6 degrees Celsius after 30 seconds. Graph R2, maximum temperature in that area is 36.2 degrees Celsius. Jumped to 37.2 degrees Celsius. Entire 1 degree Celsius in just 30 seconds. Maximum temperature on image 17 is on the small right hand finger 37.4 degrees Celsius, while after 30 seconds, see image 18, maximum temperature shifted to right thumb 37.6 degrees Celsius. There are graphs below the images. I will show you the picture once again. There are two pictures, image 17 and 18, and two graphs below that, R1 and R2. Note, two spikes on the thermal profile indicate thermal convection of the heat from the hands to the card. This is a normal conduction process in nature, but a rise of temperature of 1 degree Celsius in 60 seconds without external source of heat is not possible in a strictly controlled thermal area without strong light sources, sun or air conditioning. No pressure in fingers can produce that temperature rise because with pressure blood goes out of the pressured area and temperature falls. That was a little scientific game. In the future, I intend to conduct serious types of experiments to measure indirect effect of chi and divine energy. Of course, my friends, we do not need that. I feel all that with my heart. If you enjoy beautiful music, you do not care which sort of wood and materials was used to build that piano. Magic is in the maestro, not in the tools. I am very strong for using the camera in that divine process. Some branches of science are also art, and I use my intuition to bring those divine processes to the people who do not understand. If many people understood that, all of us would be in the world with more smiles. That is why I opted to apply science for this purpose. To further make sure this experiment is correct, I asked Dusan to hold another ordinary visiting card in his hands. There's another picture, the top photo. He did so and even concentrated on producing chi flow in his hands. But after a minute, the temperature remained the same, 37.4 degrees Celsius. Here is the picture of an ordinary card which shows no increase in the temperature. We repeated the experiment with Mohanji's card. At the moment of taking the card in the hands, the temperature was the same as above, 37.4 degrees Celsius. But after 30 seconds, I measured a rise to 37.9 degrees Celsius. So Dusan, being very fast, in only 30 seconds, experienced the temperature rise in his hands. After Dusan, I did the experiment myself, and the result was also amazing. I registered 1 degree Celsius rise after 60 seconds with Mohanji's card. But then again, I am also sensitive to chi. So I asked my elder son Nicola, who does not share this interest in chi, to do the experiment, and we recorded a rise of 0.4 degrees Celsius. For the time being, that is enough of science. Now it is time for love and hugs. Lots of love from Serbia to all of you. Jai Brahma Rishi Mohanji. This chapter we can stop our reading session. Thank you all. I'm really blessed that I'm able to read this book, and I have such eager people, listening to my sessions. I'm truly blessed. Thank you, Jai Mohanji.